Namaskar, welcome to one more class on the rural tourism. I am Ashwin Kumar here. Today we are going to discuss an important aspect of rural tourism, that is agri-tourism and its future. I hope you are not getting confused with the word called agri-tourism. It is very simple. It is encouraging the foreign tourists to come and visit our agricultural fields and learn through experiential way. So that is what we have defined agri-tourism as. Now what is agri-tourism? We will be having in-depth study in one more video, but in this video we are going to cover about agri-tourism and its future. What is agri-tourism? Agri-tourism is a style of a holiday that is normally spent on farms. The term agri-tourism is understood differently by tourists and providers of agricultural tourist services. For a tourist, agri-tourist means familiarizing oneself with the agricultural production and recreation in the agricultural environment, or it may include an opportunity to help with the farming task during the visit. There are three main features in this. What are those three main features? Let us see. The first feature is possibly to satisfy the human need with practical participation in the process of food production in the life of a rural family and rural community. The second characteristic quality of agri-tourism is in relation to the conventional tourism is the possibility to satisfy the human cognitive need with farming production and ethnography. The third feature of agri-tourism is possibly to satisfy emotional needs, which is a willingness to have a direct contact with domestic animals, plants and animal products and the product of processing, and the need to experience the idyllic countryside associated with atmosphere of rusticity, silence, sounds and even smells of the country and farm. So as very important aspect here in agri-tourism is when you are visiting these farmlands, the most important aspect is your health. The health aspect comes from the smell that you can take it. There are certain people who are sensitive to certain smells and certain foods also. So please be careful when you are visiting the farmlands in the rural areas. Make sure that you are adapting your mindset to change to the new smells that you are going to encounter with. Now what is the significance of agri-tourism? Basically it is the economic and social importance of agri-tourism can be considered in many aspects, from macroeconomic aspect and the regional economic aspect and the microeconomic aspect. What are they primarily? Let us see. First thing is low farm income, urbanization, redistribution of urban people's income to agri-tourist farms, the state of rural infrastructure and level of urbanization, policy of the local self-government. Agri-tourism is a term introduced by representatives of the supply party representing the interests of farms providing agri-tourist services. This resulted in considerable extension of the term of all activities related to providing service to tourists and holiday makers. Therefore, the entities provided agri-tourist services include in the term agri-tourism various forms of accommodation industry. There are no reasons why agri-tourism and rural tourism should not be distinguished. Here, my dear friends, which I would like to say an important part of the slide is, most of the Indian agricultural households have low farm income. They depend on the two seasons, one is Kharif and the other one is Rabi seasons. And during these two seasons they produce different kinds of crops, fruits and vegetables. And they expect MSP, that is minimum support price, because they have invested a lot of their money, their hard work, the toil during the season, and they expect a different nice yield also, but due to the climatic changes and we all know about the global warming aspect, due to this unseasonal rains, and this has affected a lot of farms across India. So here what we need to understand is, when we visit these particular areas, they are definitely having certain issues with minimum support prices. Different states have got different rates. The overall country has got its different rates. So when you visit these particular areas, I would request you please visit the local market yards also to understand the exact difficulties an agriculturist faces in the rural areas. So that is what we are trying to distinguish here between rural tourism and agri-tourism. It's an important aspect, it's a community based aspect, and it involves your participation also, but not to the level of taking a decision, but to the level of taking information. Now, significance of agriculturists in India. The most frequently listed reasons for the fall in farmers' income in the 90s include the decline of price relativities, the stagnation of production due to lack of demand, hence the incomplete use of production potential of agriculture. The fall in the income from agricultural production and the limitation of subsidizing the agricultural from the budget. Increasing liabilities of households as well as considerable increase in unemployment rate and the slower tempo of the overall economy. The economy had a major downturn during the mid-90s. At the time the focus was primarily not on agriculture. The focus was primarily on reviving the economy. So that is the time when the preference for agriculture had taken a backseat. So gradually over a period of time in the last one decade, agriculture has taken the center stage. The government policies of the union government as well as many state governments have been focusing on reviving the agricultural economy. So that is why it is here, my dear friends, please understand the importance of agricultural economy, especially when you are visiting India and especially its rural areas. So that makes a lot of significant difference. Agri-tourism can fuel rural economies through multiplier effect, and the required benefits will be shared among different businesses with the community. What happens when a particular tourist, instead of visiting the regular tourist sites of India, he visits a typical farmland area in the rural area, he visits a farm, he stays there. What happens, he tries to spend on the food, he buys the handicrafts there, the local visit, the local cab operator. So all these things will give a boost to the rural economy in an indirect way, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. So when agri-tourists visit the particular area, he is definitely fueling, giving a boost to the rural economy. Actually, let us go to the origin point. The term agri-tourism was initially used in the United States of America, but it originated from an Italian national legal framework passed in 1985. This law promotes overnight farm stays to diversify the incomes of Italian farmers and support the landscape of farming operations. The seeds of agri-tourism in India was first sown by the formation of Agri-Tourism Development Corporation, ATDC. You can visit the website to get more information on that. Located at Baramati in Maharashtra. The ATDC was founded in 2004 by Pandurang Taware, an entrepreneur from the farming community. I have given you the details and how they are trying to bring in children and others, also the urban people, into this particular sector. Let us see in the more slides. ATDC is a company that encourages agricultural tourism in Maharashtra, and it promotes a means of diversifying business opportunities and securing feasible livelihood for the farmers. Following a phase of research and initial pilot program in the village of Baramati district way back in 2005, the ATDC has grown with some trained farmers and agri-tourism locations across the state of Maharashtra. Since its inception, farmers across the state have gained 25% growth in their incomes. 25% growth is really huge. So that is what is the contribution of agri-tourism. Further, it has a policy of employing local youth as agri-tourism guides and specifically contracts women for food preparation services through organized women self-help groups. One, we are benefiting the youth, next we are benefiting the women and also the self-help groups. To supplement and enhance farmers' incomes, agri-tourism can be implemented as a secondary sector, but policy and guidelines for this concept are still insufficient, but it is taking shape. It is going to become more and more concrete in the coming years. You can visit the link there, it has given all the details how the entire student community is getting enriched by these services. Significance of agriculture is, for instance, in the USA, in general, the farm and non-farm household incomes are similar within the overall distribution. In Australia, in 2001, households that contained at least one person whose main income came from agriculture and had a mean income of about 90% of those households where no person was employed in agriculture. In view of the economic situation of the people related to agriculture, traditional family farms may be forced to combine income from several sources. That is in Australia way back in 2001, some 2 decades ago. The income comes from non-agricultural work, example from running a small service trade or craft enterprises, or it has a non-profit character and comes from other transfers into agriculture such as pensions, annuities. Rural people are usually poorer than the part of the city population. Therefore, redistribution of financial resources from cities to the countryside and increasing the possibility of rural people generating income are the important goals of a social policy. That is why even in countries like USA and Australia, if you see here, their focus has been to revive their rural economies. And to revive that particular rural economy, they have been focusing on agri-tourism. The transition from traditional agriculture to agri-tourism is quite a challenge. One major issue is successfully creating products and services that tourists want. An increase in disposable income tied with shortened working days lead to demand for leisure activities, which generally contributes to the success of agri-tourism. What are the highlights? Let us see. This highlights the innovative nature of agri-tourism that can attract new generation of farmers, offering new opportunities for youth development in rural areas and boost the rural economy. In the words of Tawari, come, pluck a fruit, smell a flower, run the fields, lie on the hay and be lost in rural India. Such a nice statement. So this has been taken again from Mr. Sharath of Research Scholar Tamil Nadu Agricultural University and S.D. Shivakumar of Agri Business Development of Tamil Nadu. Now, what are the key facts? Let us have a brief outlook. Today, agri-tourism is rapidly developing. It is specially meant for the urban population who have very little exposure to rural life and agriculture. Indian farmers nowadays visit different regions like agricultural research centers, Krishi Vignan Kendras, agricultural universities also to empower themselves, to educate themselves more. Farmers also visit countries like Israel where experimentation in advanced technology of agriculture is carried out. A surprising aspect that has come to my information is when our farmers have visited Israel and they were so busy teaching our farmers about vermicomposting, organic farming. Okay, so they said that they imported this particular technology of vermicomposting, the traditional methods of agriculture from India. So we were going to a foreign country like Israel to learn about our own culture. So that's the irony of it. So we have to respect under traditions which our culture, our agriculture had it so thousands of years back. Let us revive it, let us bring it back. Now who is an agri-tourist? A common characteristic of agri-tourist is their willingness to stay on the farm, observe production processes, have contact with the animals. Agri-tourism is primarily oriented towards urban city inhabitants, especially from big cities and medium-sized towns. From the point of view of agri-tourism, it is important to learn the characteristics of city inhabitants. How the urban dwellers do, what do they do on the weekends. So my dear friends, during the weekends, if you want to, I am not saying taking a judgmental call that you want to visit, have a pub and visit particular entertainment areas, but at least one weekend you can definitely spend in a village. Understand the process, where the food is coming from, how it is being manufactured, what kind of vegetables do the farmers produce, what are the problems they face. Your brains, your suggestions to make the process better can be really helpful. Spend some quality time in the villages such that it can be mutually beneficial. It can be educative and informative also. The main consumers of agri-tourist services tend to be people with university or higher education and their children. A family that has collected material assets may use agri-tourist services even if they have lower income. They are more likely to use agri-tourist services than the family on their way to their wealth. Families on their way to the wealth are not the best clients for agri-tourism. Depending on the time and staying of the farm, agri-tourist clients can be grouped into following segments. 1. Momentary agri-tourists who come for a short spell of a time. Is it like a passing? They just want to have a glance and go. Next is one-day tourists. They would like to stay for one particular day at the farm. Next, agri-tourists who stay overnight. They would like to stay overnight, understand the people, interact with the people. They are our real target clientele. Then weekend tourists. Just now as I said, during the weekends, a lot of people would like to go chill out in pubs, discotheques and everywhere. I am saying no. I am saying please go have a chill out, but at least one weekend, one Saturday or one Sunday can you spend in the rural area. Then the holiday makers during the festival seasons and other things. Definitely all the festivals are very important to visit your family and loved ones. But during that time, can you plan to visit your own local villages? Understand those issues that are there. What is the progress that has been done? How you can do the venture capital funding there. How you can form a good team and develop your own local area, your own local village. That is a very key aspect that we need to understand. Here, what are we going to discuss broadly? The topic discusses the services, products, imponderables and agri-tourist attractions. Imponderables means unmeasurable values, which refer to agri-tourist space such as the beauty of the landscape, fresh air or rural architecture. Imponderables, though not as a service or a product, facilitate the marketing process in agri-tourism. Agri-tourism also satisfies human emotional, aesthetic and social needs, especially the longing time for rural serenity, fresh air and landscape undisturbed by architecture. So what we are trying to say, imponderables, is what I have been focusing with you and sharing with you right from the first video, that in our rural side, in our village side, we have got, any village in India has got definitely a pond or a lake, some small temple or some kind of a religious heritage building. This can be combined as a beautiful tourist location along with the local sweetmeats, along with the local cuisines. So this is a combined effect that we need to have at this particular aspect. So please understand this importance. Now, agritourism satisfies the human emotional need for contact with the animals. There are 9 categories of agri-tourist products and services. What are those products and services? We will know. Agri accommodation, agri food and beverages, primary agri-tourism, direct sales, agri recreation, agri sport, agri-tainment, agri-therapy and cultural tourism. All these plays a keen aspect in understanding our own people and better the community services there. Agri-food services are an integral part of agri-tourism. 4 forms of agri-food services can be found. One is the home meals eaten by tourists together with the families, farmers' family, picnic meals eaten in the fields, canteen, that is separate place for tourists. Generally we say it as dhabas, who eat meals without the farmer's family but according to the menu and timetable imposed by the farmer. Restaurants run by the farmers or food processing enterprises which provide meals not only for holiday makers but staying in a specific farm but also for outside guests. It's more like a revenue generating. Whenever you go and have a breakfast, lunch or a dinner, staying with them, having the local cuisine, it definitely benefits. Yes, make sure that whenever you are visiting that local area, the most important aspect is the spice. Spice is one aspect where a lot of foreign tourists have a problem with. So make sure that you don't take the full course meal, just try the basic small aspects, take little aspects of the food, taste it. If you find it comfortable, then you can go ahead with it. So do not take the measure. And here also I am informing the host. The host, please do not serve the entire thing to the foreign tourist. Even the domestic tourists also. Maybe the spice levels across the country is different. The spice tolerance we can see. So here, just put any quantity of food in small quantities, let them taste it. If they find it okay, fine, let them have it, but do not force them to have it. It is not mandatory for them to have. Some people do not like it, so what, but let us not take it in a other negative aspect. So tastes differ, but at least to make the cultural, giving a basic respect, if you can taste a small spoon of it, half a spoon of it, just to make the host pleasant and better, feel better. So I request you to taste the local cuisines, but with caution, especially regarding the spice. Yeah. Primary agri-tourism comprises the categories of tourist products and services that are directly related to production processes on a farm. The product and services on a primary agri-tourism include observation of the production of crops and livestock, observation of food and beverage processing, participation in the production of crops, animals, foods and beverages, educational tours, farm zoo, safari, direct contact with domestic animals or the nature of the farm. So these are the basic services that we are provided, which are integral part of tourism. That is what basically I said, 4 forms, that is agri-food services. 1, home meals that are eaten by the tourists together with the farmer's family, then the picnic meals which are eaten in the fields, then the canteen, separate places for tourists who eat meals without the farmer's family but according to the menu and timetable imposed, then the regular restaurants run by farmers, and the food processing enterprises which provide meals. Due to the fast development of modern wholesale and retail networks whose goal is to sell mass products to large several consumers as possible, there is a danger that local products manufactured in small amounts will disappear completely because there will be no effective markets for them. Agri-tourism provides a market opportunity for such commodities through following forms of direct sales. Direct sales of farm products, pick your own sales, stands with agricultural produce, farm or enterprise shops. Within the agri-sport, the following categories can be distinguished like walks and hikes, horse riding, sports requiring large space, new generation area games like hunting and fishing. So here we are also discussing, I am showing you a typical package here which they call it as the HURDA, Hurda Party at Muluk forms. The package is given, but again subject to the timings, the prices might vary post COVID scenario. So that is what they are trying to promote it in a typical tourist place, agri tourist place. Come have a nice food. The food is also you can see the picture, a nice lovely food which is there. So here, my dear friends, which I would like to say is, the particular slide which mentions is, the focus is on rural cuisines. Because of the demand for the urban cuisines there, the local area people will like to make the urban cuisines more. So in order to protect the local cuisines also, kindly taste the local cuisines also, such that they also have a equal fair play in the market. So that if the demand for the urban cuisines is more, you are going from an urban area again to a rural area, again having an urban food there, you are not going to generate any demand for them, and the local cuisines will have a slow dying death. So that's why, my friends, please understand, have the local cuisines too. Some entertainment can be classified as the so-called agri-tainment. The use of the term agri-tainment is justified by the fact that such entertainment is only available on farms or in rural areas and possibly in green areas in cities. These categories may be included, namely visiting parks and gardens, agri-tourist excursions, outings, maize and soya mazes. Currently, agri-tourism offers at least 4 products and services of agri-therapy, namely animal assisted therapy, therapy applying plant and animal specifics, aroma therapy, apitherapy, specific diets and many health resorts. Especially to the senior citizens who are visiting, there are a lot of places where you will get a lot of relief for your body pains, body aches and other things. Different kind of therapy which we have mentioned here, the aroma therapy, animal specific therapy is being given. So I would request you to explore those particular therapies also, and when you are visiting that places, especially with the animals, kindly be safe with the animals. If you are an animal friendly person, it's good. So have a precautionary safe distance, discuss with the host about how you need to interact with the particular animal. It can be a homebred dog also, or a cat also, so you need to take care of certain precautions. So my dear friends, please have organic food. The organic food demand for in the international market is quite huge, and especially for the seeds and everything that is being produced, people have come back to the original forms of agriculture. Instead of depending on chemicals and fertilizers, we are depending totally on organic method, that is organic, producing organic food with minimal use or no use of chemicals and fertilizers. I hope you are all aware that with the use of chemicals and fertilizers, the soil gets tightened and it will not be useful for the next level of crops. That is why people are shifting to organic farming, because the soil will always should be fluid. It should be moldable, it should be adaptable for the next season, for the next crop. So that is why my humble request is, wherever you are visiting, please have the organic food and encourage people to do organic farming. Now coming to the ethnographic products and services offered by the rural community include historic farms, old farms, historic villages, museums of folk art, folk music and agriculture, folk family celebrations and festivals, staying in a village characterized by the specific folk character, dialect, art, attire, buildings, etc. In the previous sessions we have discussed about Jallikattu, the farm in Tamil Nadu, where the bull chasing, typically you find it in Spanish areas, Spain and other things. So that is why there is some commonality in that, but the difference is there. So that is why we have to understand the various products and services like we said about imponderables. The agritourism can offer wide variety of services to the clients. In that case, the natural process is an extension of the meaning of ethnography, which includes the cultural, social and religious activity of farmers and rural communities. Understanding the local culture, local tradition, the local aspects, like what are the things they take when they were offering any particular offerings to the deities, the traditional form in which they use it. So the composition of the food and everything they use it, that is where it makes lot of difference. So try to explore that aspect also. Increasingly, other forms of tourism in rural areas include, in a range of term, agritourism. For the farmer, agritourism means different forms of supplementary or exclusive business activity on a farm, primarily to increase income. For the farmer, agriculturist in India, a foreign tourist or a domestic tourist coming in there, he sees it as a supplementary income for him, some additional income that can come in, so that actually it can support him in the main activity of farming. So that is why your visit can definitely be helpful to every agriculturist in India. Any village that you visit, please go support the agriculturist there. Now we are trying to talk about the same significance of agriculture. The most important reason for the development of agritourism is the need to increase the farmer's income. Just now we have talked about. and the government programs also are based on tourism, have supported farms' involvement in the development of agri-tourism. That the main driving force behind the development of agri-tourism is the necessity to satisfy people's natural and need to have contact with the nature. The contact with the nature, which has people dwelling in urban areas, has literally increased, and we are moving away from it. Yes, we are growing up, our rooftop garden and everything is there, but still being connected with the ground earth is very important. A permanent need. So agri-tourism is potentially sustainable. The potential demand for agri-tourism seems to be large. For the time being, the supply of agri-tourist services is still larger than the demand, but the demand is constantly growing. The second half of the 20th century was also a period of the clashing of two opposed processes in agriculture. The first process, also in historical sense, concerns the rapid increase in work efficiency in agriculture. The other process, which is delayed in a historical sense in a comparison with the first, but whose effects are opposite to that of the first, thus increasing the traffic in rural areas. So earlier, the late 60s, during the 60s, the green revolution started. So at that time, the farming activity had to increase the production, the capacities, everything, it was run on this thing. That was the time they were using a lot of chemicals and fertilizers. But right now, we have most of the Indian agriculturists have shifted back to the traditional farming methods, that is organic farming. That is for the long-term vision. So that is why we are saying there is two different clashes in the methods in which agriculture is being used. Here, I am having a case study. In this case study, I am going to read it out. After that, let us see what are your inputs from your side. Warangal, the land of beauty and greenery, the development. What is the caselet? In this caselet, we are going to discuss in three terms. One, challenge. What is the response? The other one is learning. What is the challenge? Here, Bhimani waterfalls, which is about 50 kilometers from Warangal. That place is completely surrounded by forest and small villages. It is said that the waterfall falls from a small rock all the year round, even in the summer. Warangal Fort, all the heritage of Kakatiya dynasty, is being preserved there with great concern. The place is full of sculptures and carvings of the Warangal Empire. A park behind the fort named Ekashila Children Garden, which has a play area for children and also a small lake. But to a corner there is a huge rock with a small temple on the top. The hilltop scenery is good, which gives a view of all the greenery around the place. Next was the most famous 1000-pillar temple. It is so cool and calm in and around the temple. The Bhadrakali temple is quite a big temple with very clean lake in its backyard. The view is awesome. Next, visit the Etur Nagaram Wildlife Sanctuary, which is about 110 kilometers from the Warangal city via Mulgu and Pasara villages on the National Highway 163. The road is now newly laid, and it is recommended that you reach the sanctuary before 5 p.m. in the evening, because the raw materials from the forest would be transported in and out of the sanctuary in the evening hours. There were a lot of small villages and tribes living deep inside the forest. Ramappa temple, again very famous one from Telangana and especially from Warangal, has very good carvings and sculpture on walls and pillars. August to December will be the most preferred time to visit these places in Warangal. Now the response. Parthasarathi, a person, is a retired station master of Kazipet railway station. Post-retirement, he had taken a freelance assignment as a tourist guide in his native place, Warangal. He wrote a letter to tourism department to promote Warangal, Hanmakonda and Kazipet as tri-cities. If you are visiting Warangal, it has got tri-cities, not twin cities like Hyderabad and Secunderabad. It has got tri-cities. One is Warangal, one is Hanmakonda, the third one is Kazipet concept, and he received good support from the ministry. They visited the potential spots and developed it as per his suggestions. Today, Warangal and other nearby areas can be viewed as potential tourist spots with lot of history and fun entertainment behind it. That is the response. Now, what is the learning? A man who is retired from his service, what does he say? Age is a matter of mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. That's the spirit of Mr. Parthasarathi. Not only Mr. Parthasarathi, there are many people who are watching this video who have in your homes a lot of senior citizens. They are still young in mind, still young in heart. You have to, give them the navigation to do something. Why can't they be the tourist guides, especially promoting rural tourism? A moment of pride. These includes 2 national awards in 2008 and 2009 for introducing the most innovative tourism product in the country and promoting responsible tourism in 2013 and 14. Pandurang was also, Tawari, which we have mentioned, was also instrumental in drafting the policy on agri-tourism in Maharashtra, and this policy mandates schools to ensure the students from class 5 to class 10 spend time visiting a farm for one compulsory educational trip every year. See, such a fantastic policy that Mr. Pandurang has brought it, and the government of Maharashtra has strictly implemented this. This is total almost 1 crore school students from various schools, aided and unaided schools in Maharashtra. Catching them young will help making a far stronger impact. That's what Mr. Pandurang says. Sevarth Made Parmarth, meaning do something that will benefit not just you but those around you. With this philosophy in mind, Pandurang has managed to make life immensely comfortable and successful for himself and more than 600 other farmers in Maharashtra. We managed to take over rupees 50 crores pre-COVID via sales of farm produce and the tours we conduct. The amount helped over 600 farmers of Maharashtra who are associated with us. That's what Mr. Pandurang shares. See, it's all about team spirit, it's all about team management. It's not about self. It's all about us, we. That's what we need to learn from a gentleman called Mr. Pandurang. He is now working on taking agri-tourism concept to various other parts of India. Now we will watch some 2 videos which are there, the links which is totally directly linked to agri-tourism. The first one is of 1 minute, the second one is on Aroha agri-tourism, which is both are taken from YouTube. Thank you very much. Bye. Jai Hind.